All right, so to watch this video for Monday, July 10th, I always start off with my equity curve. You can see a new green dot. On Thursday, I think I figured I made $5 an hour. That's the life of a day trader, right? You never know. We're paid for performance. We don't perform well, we don't make money. We perform poorly, we lose money. So it's probably the only job out there like that. But I made closer to $350 an hour on Friday, so kind of back to a better way to make a living on Friday. Also want to share, not really stock related, but I got a lot of emails about this, so I just wanted to say this actually did happen. You see, I tweeted the other day, UPS dropped off a box with 120 bars of Dial soap. This is a direct result of my drunk ass using Amazon this weekend. In my defense, Amazon has some sort of pantry thing where if you're getting bathroom items, you have to hit a certain amount to get, I think, the free shipping and all that. So, you know, I think inebriated, it seemed like a good idea. Said, well, I'll use them sometime, but I kind of forgot about it. Next thing you know, you wouldn't believe how heavy a box of 120 bars of Dial soap is. Anyway, I thought it was amusing too that UPS replied, "I'm sorry to hear this happened. Is there anything we can do to assist you?" To which I replied, "I'm afraid you're off the hook for this one, but yes, you can help me take my phone next time I'm drunk. Nobody needs that much soap." So I guess they just scour the internet for anyone complaining about anything and look for their own UPS initials, but hardly their fault, right? That one was on me. Anyway, enough babbling. All right, so the SPY held this support from the last couple weeks and then bounced on Friday. Again, not a lot of volume. I don't know if we're going to say back to normal volume, but at least we got the holiday week behind us, and I'm looking forward to this week. So the watch list I have going into Monday, select Comfort Sleep Systems, SCSS. This thing, it's a weird chart because it gapped up and then kind of formed this island up here and then ripped higher, and now for a week has ripped lower, but that's a big day for this stock to the downside on Friday. And you know, you have some support after this gap up in this area. So I do have this on bounce watch. Remember, I'm a day trader, so I'm just trying to find stuff that can make me some money, in this case on Monday, and I'll be back in cash before the close. So remember that. I'm not, these are not long-term picks. IMUC had a nice rally and then a gap up and an intraday rally before closing flat, and then Friday came down a bit. It's getting close to the 8-day and 20-day. I'm going to start watching this one for a bounce on Monday. It's a pretty good setup. I like the much lower volume on the sell-off on Friday too. So that one's a pretty good setup. APRN is a IPO from what, 5 sessions ago? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sessions ago. It went as high as I guess 11, and then on Friday hit a low of 736, closing at 773. So you know, there's not a lot of chart to go on, but I am going to watch this one for an afternoon breakout, hopefully, or some kind of bounce. But what I'd like to see is an afternoon breakout. A lot of times when something is getting sold, let me go to 15-minute candles here. Something's getting sold, you get an early sell-off, and the same thing the next day. This is the only day since it came open that it broke its early high in the afternoon, right? This was the opening day. It rallied and then sold off. The next day, never broke its early high. The third day did break its early high in the afternoon, but had to come a long way from the intraday low to get there, so I wouldn't have taken that. Then 1, 2, 3 more days where it never broke its opening high. Did have a nice intraday bounce on Friday. So it's starting to look like it's getting ready for a bounce. And again, remember, I'm a day trader, so I'm just looking for a setup on Monday or sometime this week anyway. If it keeps selling, I'll keep watching it. CERU, big pop on, let's see, this would have been, what, Wednesday? Then Thursday and Friday, lower on declining volume. Pretty good candidate for a turn back up on Monday. We're going to keep our eyes on that one. VSTM. This thing's still really extended, so keep that in mind. You know, it had a huge move on Thursday and then kind of a quiet day on Friday, but still pretty good volume. So switching to 15-minute candles, you can see a pretty clean flag, right? I don't have an entry price. I want to watch it trade. I'm not going to say, oh, if this gets over Friday's high or if it gets over this high, it's going to break, because a lot of times there's nonsense that goes on in the opening 10 or 15 minutes, and I don't want to get you or myself caught in something with any suggestion of mine. So I have to watch it trade on an intraday basis, but you know, that is certainly one to watch with the recent volume in it and the big upside moves. Fred, I caught a nice trade in on Friday. I actually called Fred long in the chat room just on a break of its 5-minute high, which is a little bit odd for me. I don't usually call something like that. But this is what Fred looked like going into Friday. So it's really beaten up, right? So I'm looking for a turn down here anyway. And so then there's Friday's candle. But let me go back to why I called it at the open. Okay, so it's so beaten up and had decent volume in the opening 5 minutes. I thought, you know what, we'll just call this the opening range, and if it breaks it. So it's basically around 660, and it got this, I'm going to go to smaller time frame in a second and show you, but it got this crazy push up. And my best sell was 689. But as it pushed up, I sold some. I always try to sell into some strength, but let me go to like 2 minutes and you really start to see, right? So it got long around 660, somewhere up in here. It did nothing. No, I got long right in here. Really didn't do much, and all of a sudden it did this boom right through the previous day's high and through the whole number 7, and then it started to come back down and said, you know what, I'm going to take some off the table, and then it chased me out the rest, so I didn't make that much on the rest, but had a nice sell there from 660 to 689. It was really weird action though. I mean, if I'd have known it was going to do that, I'd have been offering out some up over the whole number 7. Anyway, long story short, let's go to 5s now. So we got that crazy push, and then it did nothing the rest of the day but chop sideways, and then in the afternoon, which I was already gone for the day, biggest volume stick of the day, right? And then ends up closing on a flag. So this one is feeling like it's trying to have bottomed, and maybe it pushed through 7 or something like that on Monday, but I definitely want to keep my eyes on it. With some crazy action though. CBI flushed again in the morning, and then bounced, takes out the high of day, goes all the way back down, takes out the low of day before going back up and taking out the high of day. That's what you call squinky action, but when you go to the daily, it did close strong and close near its highs, so I'm thinking maybe it's time for this thing to finally head back up. After this huge move, it hasn't broken a previous day's high yet, but now you've got kind of a nice little possible bottoming tail there, and it's trying to hold that 20-day. It's just below it, so let's keep our eyes for a long on CBI on Monday. MSDI had a huge move, then a gap up, intraday reversal, then a red day, and then a gap down, an intraday reversal. A little bit weird, but I like this as a potential long on Monday. RXII, don't generally trade them under $1, but every once in a while I'll put one on watch. RXII is worth watching in my opinion. Broke out of this long range on Friday, maybe a continuation day. I don't even have this on the list, but TENX is interesting. Hang on a second here. Okay, here, I'd made a chart a little bit ago. I thought, you know what, I'll share this. Again, it's another one under $1, and that's what just reminded me, showing you RXII. You had the gap down here, a bounce up, and then a little bit of extra volume the last week or so, right? And you kind of have a long formation, a long trend line that it could get up into this gap. So I definitely think this TENX is worth watching as well. But back to RXII, you've got this breakout, maybe a red to green or something like that, possible continuation. Couple more, KTOV. I don't love this because you had this huge move, and then you basically almost have a round trip, much lower volume, but sometimes you get a third day play, so it doesn't cost me anything to have it on a chart, so I will. And then lastly, I have CNAT, which if I take CNAT, which I take Friday's candle out of it, you can see this nice rally and a really tight flag, and Friday, we called this long in chat right here, as it was getting basically at or 1 penny above the high of day, and got a nice move there too. A lot of traders made money in that one on Friday. And then volume just died down in the market as you would expect on a Friday summer afternoon. So it did give back some, but I went ahead and threw it on watch again because it's been showing pretty good strength. All right, that's plenty to watch. Last day of our sale, if you happen to watch this video and it's still Sunday, last day of our sale on our course, and the July 4th chat room special as well. So if you want to join a room where we actually give you trade ideas ahead of time, not, hey, guess what, everybody, I just took XYZ, right? And then you run into the group fight to who can get in and then who can get back out before the moderator calls, okay, now I'm out, and our chat room's nothing like that, okay? If you've ever been in a chat room like that, I would log in every day with my palms sweating, wonder if I'm going to blow up my account. So that is not trading. If everyone is sitting there trying to guess what the moderator is going to do and get in before and get out before and so on, you need to learn a better way, and we can actually help you with that. So keep us in mind, all right? Last day of the sale. I'm going to quit babbling. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Sunday, and we'll see everybody on Monday.